Sarah Warner, your host for today's Half Hour With on Blink Twice, written, directed, and produced by Zoë Kravitz. Welcome, Zoë Kravitz. Thanks for coming.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Before we kind of dig into everything, can you set up your film? Like, what is Blink Twice?
Blink Twice is a story about, we follow a young cocktail waitress named Frida and her best friend Jess, and they're working this big fancy gala, a charity event, and they meet Slater King, who is a tech billionaire who has recently been canceled, but has gone through therapy. He's recently bought an island to reconnect with nature, and now he is at a charity event that he's hosting and is kind of done with his apology tour. And he meets Frida and they have this connection. And he invites her and Jess to come with him to his island. And everything is incredible and they're having a great time until stranger and stranger things start to happen. And Frida and Jess start to wonder if they're really having the good time that they think that they're having.
Nice. So nicely done. Beautiful setup. With that, let's take a look at the trailer.
Cool.
Slater King, let's get to the question that everybody is dying for you to answer. Where have you been?
I guess I just needed to disappear for a little while. So I sort of bought an island.
An island?
Mm-hmm. It's a great place to bring friends. Nice to meet you, Frida. We're going to my island for a few days.
Do you guys want to come?
Did we just jet off to a billionaire's island with a bunch of strangers? Oh, he's not a stranger. He's Slater King.
I can't tell you how healing it's been just to disconnect.
Phones, please. Wait, for real?
It's just better without the phones. I hope it's okay. This is my favorite one.
I think I'll survive.
We grow our own food. I wear the same thing every day.
So do you think it's weird that there's, like, clothes for us? I think it's just, like, rich. It's not what I thought it was gonna be.
What do you mean?
The legendary parties of Slater King. Blink Twice if I'm in danger. What day is it?
You don't know.
When are we leaving?
Whenever you want.
You okay? Dude, your eye. Can't you feel it? There's something wrong with this place. I've turned under my nails and I don't know how I got there.
Are you having a good time?
I feel like we're forgetting, like, a lot of stuff.
There's something weird going on.
Something's making us forget. Where's Jess?
Who's Jess?
My friend.
You remember her,
Yes.
but I don't remember her.
Who's there?
I'm going for the phones. Keep a lookout. Oh my God.
What are we gonna do about you?
We need to find out what's really going on.
Such an experience. I've been lucky enough to see this film twice. And just some of the stuff I revisit, I'm like, oh God, I remember how that felt in the theater. Just so well crafted. How is it for you kind of watching that trailer, especially being on the other side of it? Your film is out now. I don't know.
Yeah, it was actually, it's interesting, like having a little bit of space from it now. And yeah, I don't know. It's very strange to have something just feel for it to feel kind of like normal now, you know? And someone told me they watched it on a plane the other day. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that it's just out in the world, you know? It's bizarre. It's hard not to still think that, like, I don't know, like I have all this adrenaline, I think, that comes to my body when I see it because it's been this long process. And now I'm like, oh no, I can kind of just breathe and watch the trailer and it's over. It's over now.
That's good. That's good. I feel like that's, you know, I can't imagine what it's like to have such an all-encompassing experience, you know, and when you've probably seen it a ton in the edit, but to have a little distance is good. Can you talk a little bit about the origin story? One of the things I'm still most impressed by is the fact that, you know, it announced Zoë Kravitz directorial debut, and the fact that you decided to tackle this story. You could have done a bunch of other things, but you tackled something ballsy and bold.
Thank you. I mean, I just started writing one day. I started writing this in 2017. So it was, right before, like the loudness of the Me Too Time's Up movement. And so I think it really came from a place of frustration, and really just needing to kind of express that anger and that rage that I felt, around experiences I've had, experiences friends I know have had. And I was just really interested in power dynamics, specifically between men and women. And so I just started writing one day. And I think, the creative process is so interesting because sometimes you don't even really know, where it's going and where it comes from. And it just kind of flows out. And I just started writing. And I remember just writing the words Slater King and Frida, and they're going to this place. And this is also before, there was information about certain people and certain islands and things like that. So that was not even a part of, where this came from. And so it's been really, really interesting to watch the world kind of things unfold in the world that really kind of fold into this story in a really interesting way. But it really did come from, emotions I was having, and then kind of wanting to play with the idea of Adam and Eve and the Garden of Eden and the serpent. And yeah, so it was kind of like a combination of all those things.
Yeah, there's so much going on here, in a good way, right? There's like, this is something that you do need to see a couple times, in my humble opinion. Obviously, I think most of us know you as an actor, very successful there. Have you always been writing and as directing? Have both of those sort of been in the back of your mind? Have you been doing secret projects that we haven't yet seen beforehand?
I've always been really interested in writing, and I've always when I sign on to projects, I often, I have opinions, and I will sometimes do passes on scenes and things like that. And specifically when I did High Fidelity, that was when I really got involved in the writing process in a way where I gained a lot of confidence doing that. I think sometimes as an actress, they kind of tell you just to stay in your lane. And but I really, really love storytelling. And I think directing was something I always wanted to do, but I don't even think I really ever admitted that to myself. It was just something I knew I loved. And I knew that I was so in love with filmmaking as a whole. It wasn't just acting that I loved. I was so interested in how things get made, and in cinematography and in sound and color and costume. And I was always just so interested in the bigger picture, and acting was just kind of the way that I was able to contribute to the thing that I love so much. So when this came along, it just felt like the right thing to do. But I had never directed anything ever in my life.
Was there a best part of kind of being in charge of the whole thing? In essence, I always think about all the departments you're thinking about, and the start to finish of it all, pre, post. What kind of was that experience like?
It was overwhelming, but I really, really thrive in that environment. I think I really respond well to pressure. And I really love multitasking, and I love a challenge. And I get tunnel vision. I become very obsessive when I'm working, and I really like that. This movie completely took over my entire being. And there's something about being that immersed in something that I really enjoy. But it's scary, but that's also part of what makes it so fun to do.
Right. Was there, a muscle or a skill set that you were surprised you were really excellent at, or something that was smoother than you expected? Because again, I'm thinking about the different departments and all the decisions.
Yeah, I think the thing that I learned along the way that I think I did get better at as we went was the idea of staying creative in a crisis. Because when you're making a film, it's just, nothing goes right. You're always running behind. Something goes wrong. Weather, someone gets sick, light. It's just like it never goes the way that you want it to go. And so, there are these moments where you can just panic, and work from that place of panic. But whenever we would find ourselves in a situation where something was going wrong, it challenged me to be more creative and to embrace the situation. And it almost always led us to something more interesting and better. So I I think that is in a lot of ways the director's job, is to always stay creative in moments of panic and crisis.
Yeah, calm under pressure. I don't know if you have a specific example of that or something. I was just thinking about your locations and the fact that you were, in an environment that is not fully containable, probably.
Yeah, I mean, dealing with the light was really intense, but also it was the rainy season, so that we had a lot of issues with weather. And also just the fact that it was so hot and the actors were outside for so long. And so that was a big issue. But it was usually time. It's always time, because you really, we have so many specific shots in this film. We have so many like close-up insert shots, and those things they're meticulous and they take time. So we were often running behind. And so trying to find ways to finish a scene, when you only have, for example, the scene when Frida and there's a scene where Frida and Sarah, they figured out what's going on. And it's the scene right before they're walking to the house with the bows, and Frida goes up to the bed and she wipes the blood on the knife and she says, let's go say hi to the guys. And we were so far behind, we had no time, and I had to shoot that scene in 2 shots. And having to figure out in that moment, okay, we could do a wide here and we could do a profile here, and like that's all we get. And having to kind of find ways to make that work was, that's an important scene in the film, but we figured it out.
Yes, some of my favorite moments, fighting back, I guess, without going too into it.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about casting? Because one of the things I love that you did, I think where a lot of us are used to seeing Channing Tatum as playing a protagonist, a nice sweetheart, and he is not that in this movie. Can you talk about, I think it's a very awesome choice of pulling him in as morally gray.
Thank you. I mean, I knew writing the story, I knew that it just wouldn't work if you didn't trust Slater King. And not only does it not work for the story, but you also then, it kind of destroys Frida's character. You can't think she's stupid for getting on that plane, And so it was important to me that Slater King was a character that we felt comfortable with. And yes, maybe he's made some mistakes, but when you see him and you look in his eyes, you feel like this is a good guy. He's charming, And so, that was one of the main reasons I wanted to play against type. I wanted to weaponize his charisma and almost, take advantage of the fact that people feel like they know you. And that's kind of Frida's experience too with Slater King. She doesn't know him. She thinks she knows him, And then I also just knew that Chan had so much more to give as an actor than were able to see and have been able to see. And so I really wanted to give him room to stretch his legs as an actor. And I think it's so exciting when we get to see people that we have been watching for so many years do something different.
Yeah, you do. You crush the action sequences so much because like his physicality is super believable and terrifying.
Yeah.
What's so fun is how you shoot Naomi also. In that she's such our conduit. Yeah, what made you choose Naomi for this and kind of
she's just a genius. Like you said, her face is so expressive and so beautiful, but also can be haunting in a lot of ways. And she had so much to do in this film, but a lot of this film is about what's going on in her, what's going on beneath her smile, beneath the expression that she's making. So finding someone that had such an expressive face that could smile but could be terrified at the same time, and you can feel both of those things, it's a hard thing to do. And she does it so effortlessly. And also she's just an incredible actress, and she understood the story I was trying to tell so quickly, and the nuances and the layers of it. And I saw a few things that she had done, and I just thought, I would be so lucky if I got her, and the fact to do
there's
it.
definitely, she's so expressive when there's sort of like her perspective, am I losing my mind? And you can fully see the depth and it's so incredible. For me, Adria, I think for me was my surprise because I'm not as familiar with Adria's work. She's definitely come on the scene, but oh my God, she's so great as Sarah. Yeah, can we touch on the rest of your amazing cast?
Yeah, Audria, I wasn't familiar with her work either, and that was a really hard role to cast, and it's obviously such an important role to cast. And Sarah's arc is so fun to go from being this kind of like nemesis and going to being, like this incredible hero in this way, and having that journey and that arc. It's such a fun character. And it was really, really hard to cast. I just couldn't find anyone that could do both and didn't, wasn't over the top, and it felt believable and but also funny. And because that's the thing, the tone of the film is very specific, and to be able to go from terrified to a joke and but not lose the tension of the scenes, it's a hard thing to do. And so when she auditioned, I was so close to shooting at that point because we couldn't find her, and I was so thankful when she just killed her audition, and it was great. And then, yeah, I mean, the rest of the cast also amazing. Haley Joel and Simon Rex, and I mean Gina Davis. I mean, I got very, very, very lucky with my cast.
Well, I think you mentioned too, kind of casting Channing and playing against type. I feel like with Haley and Simon, you're definitely, I think you use the best of what we know about them, right, to kind of play against that. I'm wondering how much fun they had with that, playing kind of douchebags.
I mean, so much fun because half the movie they're just being silly, and I really wanted them to play into that. We all lived in the location that we shot, and so we really did all spend so much time together, and we really were kind of living there, and it was like the summer camp situation, and so everyone was so comfortable with each other, and it was very important to me that the vacation really did feel like a vacation you would want to be on, and there wasn't always this undertone of darkness until there is, and so it was really interesting to kind of have to like find those moments where okay, now let's turn the knob, let's have one moment where you stare at her a little too long, or things like that, where we found those little moments to weave in. But yeah, they were, it's vulnerable for these men to play that kind of a role. It can be scary. And I was really thankful that they believed in the story as a whole and really wanted to support and hold space for this kind of story.
Yeah, I mean, that's some of the most fun in watching them. For you, I mean, as an audience member and not a filmmaker, the film does such a great job of just like you feel forebode. You just feel this sense of foreboding that kind of the whole time, which I'm assuming is by design. I'm wondering if, from your perspective, kind of for you, what the most effective way, like how you did it. I mean, because obviously you have the story, you have some score helping you out and performances, but what for you kind of was the key to it just never feeling comfortable?
That was something I had to find in the edit, and it was really, really hard to do because I found I was very lucky when I realized, oh my God, everyone's wearing the same thing all the time, so I can completely rearrange everything in a completely different order. I don't have to follow the script at all, and that's what I ended up doing. And so having working to keep this tension, it was like a tightrope, it's like, when do you release it a little bit? When does it get tighter? It's like, it has to stay like this. And it was really, really hard to do. And I had to cut a lot of things. And because you just, the second the string gets too loose, you're out, and yeah, so that was a long process with me and my editor, finding the right balance of everything. And, I think we did a lot with sound too, this kind of like, the feeling, I wanted it to feel like a memory, the movie as a whole. I wanted the entire film to feel like, not like it was happening in the moment, but as though you were remembering it. And so everything is very heightened, when you think about something that you remember, you don't remember things as they happen, you remember the things that stood out to you. And so we played with that a lot, which I think really helped create this feeling of dread and unease throughout the story.
Yes, so
Yeah.
effective. Also, a really great setup, because we have a clip that I think is a great example of what you were just talking about, because it seems sunny and nice, but there's something else happening. So let's see that clip.
Something horrible is about to happen.
What?
When things are good, that's when the bad stuff happens.
Why would you think that?
Right? What day is it?
I don't know.
When are we leaving?
Whenever you want.
That's not an answer.
Are you having a good time?
Yes.
Good.
So creepy.
So creepy.
So good. Yeah. How did you decide? I mean, I think the camera movement there is so fascinating too. It's just a great choice.
That was, yeah, Adam Newport-Bear is my DP. He's incredible. And we were talking about the scene and exactly that, like wanting it to feel idyllic, but also somehow uncomfortable. And so he had this idea of doing it at these strange angles, but also slowly moving in closer and closer and almost it feeling like a memory or a dream, you know, making it not feel necessarily realistic.
Yeah, yeah. When you described the whole thing feeling like memory, I'm like, oh, that's a new layer to think about when I watch
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, I was very lucky with my crew. He was incredible.
Yeah. Was there, I mean, it's loaded and silly to ask like a favorite part of this whole process, but are there certain sequences that you either were the most challenging and now you're most proud of, or kind of the best day on set, or kind of something that took the longest that is now your favorite thing? Just wondering.
I feel like maybe two scenes. The scene that was really, really hard tonally to get for a while was it's the scene with Audria and Naomi when they know what's going on. They're smoking the blunt by the pool, and every time one of the guys walks by, it's like they have to kind of have this smile. And when I wrote that scene, I was so excited by it. I thought, you know, this is just so interesting and scary and funny at the same time. And we're kind of writing this knife's edge. And then when we were shooting it, it just wasn't working for so long, and I started to panic. And I remember saying, I realized after a while that Naomi and Audria are such good actors that the smile felt real. And I didn't believe it wasn't funny because it was just too like, because we do that as women all the time, right? We have to kind of like pretend like we're okay when we're not. And so I realized I have to ask them to act badly. I have to ask them to be bad actors. And so once I told them to do that, and they kind of like went against everything that they, you know, then all of a sudden it clicked, and it was so funny and so scary and so sad. And but it was hard to get there for a while. And now that's one of my favorite scenes in the film. And
Yeah.
and then also, I mean, all the dinner scenes are really hard just because there's so much coverage and things like that, and continuity and things like that. But the last dinner scene was one of my favorite scenes in the film, when you know, Frida flinches when he moves and you're not really sure if he knows what's going on, and then they end up dancing on the table, and that whole sequence is something I'm very, very proud of.
Yeah. Again, like so intense and again, impressive in all those ways. Do you feel like any of your acting skills kind of are a superpower in directing, or did you uncover anything or realize, oh, this I can do this because of my own experience?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, you know, actors know what actors are thinking a lot of the time. I think the biggest lesson I learned was that every actor needs to be spoken to differently. You can't communicate with all of them the same. You know, it's like everyone learns things differently, you know, and so that was something I picked up on quickly, and I think I got quite good at. And I also I mean, at first I said to them, especially to the girls, I said, you know, I might give you line readings, which I know is kind of a no-no and most people don't like, but it's like a shorthand, and this is a very specific tone. And so if I do that, like, you know, I hope that's okay. And it was great, and it worked so well, and it actually like made things move really, really quickly. And because some of the writing, it's written in my voice, which is, you know, some of the jokes and things like that, very specific. But yeah, I think it helped a lot with the fact that I was an actor.
Speaking of some of the lines you wrote, one of my favorite lines, and I think when you see it with a crowd that people love so much, is Sarah, Audria saying, "That'll open up nicely."
That's beautifully. Yeah.
Yes, is that yours, or is that?
Yeah, no, that's, yeah, I wrote that. That's funny. I really wanted to be playful and have lines like, you know, it's like our favorite moments in movies are kind of silly and hasta la vista, baby. You know, it's like yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. It's like these moments that are just like so fun and playful. And I really wanted to give these women, you know, those kinds of moments and let us be funny and witty and badass. And so yeah, that's funny that at one point, I think people would call me the callback queen, because I love a callback. I find them so satisfying.
Ew. Yeah, it was, I mean, that one's perfect because also like I said, it's so effective in you feeling the dread and like you're just feeling worried for everyone the whole time. Well, not everyone. But like a moment like that, oh, we need it, right? Just
Yeah,
a little,
exactly.
yeah.
Permission to like, laugh for a second in this story, I think is important. Yeah.
Yeah. How are you feeling about continuing to write, direct, and produce? How are you feeling about the experience, and kind of, do you take an appropriate amount of time to recharge and then like right back at it? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling excited. I am taking time to recharge, but only because I think that's just how it works. Like, this idea just kind of popped into my head one day, and so I think you can't force it. I would love to like already know what I wanted to do and have that be done and ready to go. And when this came out, everyone, started telling me you have to have the next one ready. And I was just like, I don't think that's the way it works for me. But I know that I want to. I have a few different ideas that I'm kind of flirting with at the moment, and I'm excited to start writing again and to continue to direct. It's absolutely what I love to do.
Nice. And how do you feel about kind of continuing with how you've worked in the business as far as acting when you feel like it, then taking on kind of a full experience, I guess I would call it, with writing and acting and producing?
Yeah, I mean, I love doing both, and I'm very lucky that I can, kind of decide what I want to do, and kind of bounce back and forth, and work with incredible filmmakers and continue to learn, because that's where my education has come from. It's come from watching films obsessively, but also having the great pleasure of working with some of the best filmmakers out there. And so I love doing that. I want to keep learning, and then yeah, like making a film, it does take a really long time, and so you have to really kind of give yourself, okay, this is now my year if I'm going to do that. So but yeah, I'm kind of going with the flow, and again, feel very lucky that I can do both.
What has been your favorite kind of feedback? You mentioned, feeling or being influenced and soaking up some stuff from people you worked with. Did you get any feedback from some of those people, or have you had any favorite reactions from, peers or loved ones to this film?
I mean, all the reactions from people that I know have been great. My parents were incredibly proud, and some of my favorite filmmakers who I've worked with that I showed early cuts to, and like Steven Soderbergh and Darren Aronofsky, and people I really really respect watched the movie and liked it, and Matt Reeves, like people who I really do believe, and I could tell it was honest by the way that what they said, like the things that they noticed about what we did in the film. And then also when I walk down the street now and, women come up to me and say they love the movie, it means everything. So, yeah, it's been amazing.
That's awesome. If anyone, I feel like Soderbergh and Aronofsky would absolutely love this movie.
They dug it,
In
man.
my limited.
They really liked it. It was really cool.
That's awesome. Well, to kind of wrap this up, sadly for me, because we could talk way longer, for those who haven't yet seen Blink Twice and that are watching, what would you is there one thing you'd point to that you think is great for audiences, or a reason people should now go see it?
I mean, I think everyone's surprised by this movie. It's not what you think it is. And I think that's rare nowadays, to really watch something and not know what you're getting into fully, to really go on that ride. And it's also, I think, a movie that it's a movie you can watch twice, and it's a completely different movie the second time. And those are my favorite kinds of films. So yeah, I think it's a ride, and it's a ride you can just go one more time, please, and then keep going.
Yes. Especially certain sequences that are extra satisfying on another time. Yeah, you did. I mean, the whole marketing too is it's not what you think it is, which I think is huge. And you did such a great job with the trailers in that it's not giving it all away.
That's important to me. You have to find the balance.
Well, it's such a pleasure to talk to you about this. All right. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us today. Thank you very much to Zoë Kravitz for joining in, and to our friends at Amazon MGM Studios.
Thanks for having me.